money is not something that a lot of us have just a lot of extra sitting around. But it is super important going into any business with knowing your financial plan.
If you don't have $500, no offense to anyone listening to this, probably shouldn't be starting a business. Hi, my name's Steven.
Hi, I'm April.
This is the 3 Pi Squared ABA Business Leaders Podcast, where we discuss topics on how to create and grow an ethical and sustainable ABA practice.
Together, Steven and I owned a 7-figure ABA practice that provided both clinic and in-home services.
3 Pi Squared has helped over 900 ABA practices start up and expand with our comprehensive products and services geared specifically to ABA. Now, let's get to the podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to ABA Business Leaders Podcast. I'm April.
I'm Steven.
Welcome, everyone. This is part of our Back to Basics 2025 edition series. Back to Basics, where we revisit the foundations of running an ABA company with today's realities in mind. Whether you're starting, growing, or preparing to transition, these conversations are here to meet you where you are. And so what better place to start our conversations than talking about knowing if you're ready to start an ABA company? It kind of seemed like a great place to start. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. We should do one thing before we start with that. We should let everybody know about our podcast hotline.
Yes. Well, we already aired. Yep. We already aired a podcast talking about our podcast hotline. However, our hotline number has changed.
No,
did it change?
It hasn't changed. If you call 1-737-330-1448, and then it should be press 1, and then you will leave you can leave a voicemail and ask a question. There's chances to win prizes and free stuff but just letting you know that if you go on there and record your voice, then we may play it on the podcast. So if you don't want to leave your name, that's totally fine. Just don't tell us your name. But yeah, this is a great opportunity to help us create the content that you want. So yeah.
Absolutely. So call the hotline and leave a question, or just tell us a story about something that's going on.
Yeah, celebrate a win,
yeah.
Something that you really think is great. If you have a new book coming out, share it. If there's something that you think that could help ABA companies, just leave us a voicemail. And
we can't wait to hear all of your great ideas and all of your wonderful questions.
Yep.
All right, so back to today's topic of starting up an ABA company. We talk to so many people who dream about starting their ABA company. And they see the needs in the field. They want to make a difference. But taking that first step is actually really scary. And, people will think, can I do this? Do I even want to do this? Am I ready? How do I know if I'm ready? And most people, well, I'm going to say all people really want to start an ABA company to do good, to put good out into the world, to provide excellent ABA services, to help people of a certain population or the community, or, most people come into this really wanting to do good. And they also are really scared that what if I don't? What if I'm not able to provide the services or the community support or whatever it is that your focus is within your ABA company? What if I fail? What if I become a bad ABA company? One of the become part of the problem. Yeah. So we're going to talk about those fears today and the big questions you might be asking yourself and how to know if you're ready. I don't have a tight script or anything, but I do have a list of the big concerns and questions that we hear from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just thought we could have a conversation about it. Within our Back to Basics series, the plan is to talk about how, like what you need to know if you're first starting out an ABA company. But then also if you're already running a business, how do you check in and strengthen and update those processes or what do you do with the information that you hear? And then if you're thinking about transitioning or even closing, what should you keep in mind, right? So we're really approaching this Back to Basics as the basics. What do you need to know to start? Mm-hmm. But also, how can you use this information if you're already in business or if you're thinking about leaving the business? And so we're really helping you guys to see as listeners where we really like to show up as ABA business leaders, 3 Pi Square, as meeting you where you are in your process, but also hoping that the earlier you come to us for support and, consume our materials and whatnot, that, we like to think that we make it a little easier for you along the way. If nothing else, by the mistakes we made when we were starting out, right? And all that we've learned in the last decade plus, with working.
It's like 15 years.
Yeah. I've been in the field for decades. However,
you're like 27?
Oh yeah, right. So how's that math work? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But as a business owner within this field, that's been more like 15 years, which is still, wow, crazy, right?
It's crazy.
So let's get on into it. I feel like I'm settling into this podcast a little bit more. The beginning, I was like feeling really, well, I don't know, really rocky, but yeah, I feel like we're settling in. We'll get back into our podcast groove here before you know it. So one of the big concerns, right? Just functionally, I guess that makes sense, right? Is time and energy and money, right? Like, so I don't know, which one do you want to talk about first? Money or time and energy?
I mean, you're going to be spending some money probably. I don't know. They're all important, but you probably need money more money to start than extra time, I guess. Like there's certain things.
Can find time. You can find a certain amount of time within your schedule to manipulate and deal with, but you can't like create money.
Yeah. So I was listening on my super long drive. And I'm not telling you where I drove to. But like, it was like, I don't know, it was what? Like,
you drove like 8 hours in one day, and then you drove like another 6 hours the next day. For us old folks, that's a lot.
It would have been 8 hours both days. Well, yeah. Anyways,
that's significant.
It's a lot. It was a lot for me. Anyway, so I was listening to podcasts on it, and I don't remember. It was Diary of what is that?
CEO.
Diary
Steven.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember his last name.
You could have totally have us on your podcast.
Yeah, invite us on, Steven. Steven.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I was listening. I can't remember the guy's name that was on there. It was a really good podcast. It was one of his more recent ones, and he was talking about if you're wanting to start a company, like you need to keep your day job, right? But stop spending more time at your day job. So narrow it down to 40 hours a week, right? Mm-hmm. And then all that time when you get home, and this isn't everybody, obviously, but any of that free time that you're using to like go on Netflix or just chill or whatever, instead, his thing was you get about 5 hours a day to do that during the week. I don't know. There's probably a lot of, I'm generalizing here, but the field is 80% female. You're probably 30 to
Where are you going
40
here?
years old. So you may have children. So I don't know how much Netflix time you have in the evening. Right?
So I'll interject here. Like I talk about doing time audits, right? So you could even do like a 2 week, a lot of times that's really all you need is a 2 week time audit to see where you are spending your time. And then you can be like, okay, well, what of this, you know, I have to bathe my children and I have to, you know, I have to cook supper, whatever it is, whatever it is, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. Like there's things that we have to do keep our households running and keep our families going.
But anyways, like his thing was like, okay, you have all this free time, so right? 5 hours a day. And then you got 8 hours during the weekend that you have free time. So that pretty much gives you the 40 hours to make a company, right? So you have your 40-hour day job and then all this free time that you had. Now, again, like you said, we need to do a time audit, and like we're not all just like 18 years old with a 40-hour job and
playing video games.
So but his thing was, okay, you take that other 40 hours and you spend it on your real company, and then once it's ready to go, then you leave your current full-time position.
I'd like to say, even if you found 10 hours a week, I think that would be significant enough.
I mean, especially at the start, right? So you don't need a ton of time to do this. I do, like, we offer credentialing services, but I still, like, to this day, like, people will say, hey, I'm going to get your credentialing service. And I'm like, really? You should do it yourself. And we have a podcast on, should I credential myself or get somebody else to do it? And I would highly recommend, before you find someone to do it, just listen to that podcast. And then there are people that are like, dude, I have a limited amount of time, right? And I'm going to pick and choose. And this is one of those things that I have chosen I'm not going to do. It's totally fine. So, but really it's, okay, you know, create your mission statement, your vision, right? Then credential, do your business plan, right? And have all of this stuff ready. That's really not going to take a ton of time. And then get your contracts in place and see, okay, which ones can I accept based on the rates? Because you've already done your market analysis, you've already done your budget, right? And these things don't take a ton of time.
And there are a few things that you do have to do before you get to that credentialing piece. And we have other information. We're not going to go into those details today, but even that you can get done.
Yeah. I mean, this is where you hire an accountant or like a business attorney to help you with your LLC or PLLC, depending on your state, S Corp if you're in California. And then, you know, you need your EIN, right? And then that's, you know, like there are other things that you need. And we have other podcasts on that. But yes.
And we also have the business leaders masterclass too.
The business leaders masterclass.
But yeah, so there are places where you can carve out time. You can find time, right? And you can make those decisions. It goes back to your values too. Like, where do I want to spend my time? And you know, and sometimes you do need some downtime. Well, not sometimes. I think it's important to also use some of those hours in your day to do something that brings you joy. We also have podcasts on that. Like, we have podcasts on like so many things. Check us out if you're new to us. But I think that looking to see where you want to spend your time, and if this is really important to you to start a company, then that could be a great first part. First activity for you to do is like time on it and see, where where can I find time and how much time can I find? And I think it just depends on like how you pace yourself too, right? Because you can, even if you only found 5 hours a week, it's just going to be a little bit slower, but you could still do it.
Totally. And I think, like, just going back to that podcast I was talking about, his thing was, you should find enjoyment in creating this new business. So if you get into this and you're 20 hours in over 4 weeks and you're like, I hate all of this, maybe owning a company is not for you, right? Because you're going to find out very quickly you're no longer going to be working with clients, right? As a supervisor or doing direct service.
Or not near as much as you used to.
Like
or you'll be like battling the juggle of the two and feeling like you're not able to quite do as well as you want to in either one.
Correct.
That happens a lot.
So you're going to be like hiring people. You're going to be working with parents, making sure that they're happy, dealing with billing, right? Like dealing with tax issues. With those, you're going to be spending quite a bit of time doing that. So you may not get as much as you would like doing the BCBA type stuff. And so like if you are really enjoying being a BCBA, that doesn't mean, but you don't like the company you're currently working with, then call us, leave a voicemail, and I'll find you a nice job, right? Like there are a lot of amazing companies out there doing the right thing every day, and they need BCBAs. And so like, so just reach out and I'm sure that we can find a great fit for you versus you starting a business that you don't even want to start, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Well, so like kind of next to time is like energy, right? So, is this going to take over my life? And so putting in boundaries, right? Boundaries and pacing yourself and coming up with a sustainable schedule, right? So when you're doing that time audit and you're like, okay, and we'll talk about money in a minute, and maybe you already have a nest egg. Maybe you already have been how you're approaching it as you're saved up. And once you had a certain amount of money saved, then you're going to quit your job and put your all into the new job, the new company. But no matter what, like really looking at before you get started, because most people enjoy it, and it really, even if you don't enjoy it, there are pieces that come quickly, and things a lot can happen at once, and you can really get sucked in and swept up into it. And so being intentional with your time and knowing, okay, what are my boundaries? How late am I willing to stay at working on this? Or do I need to start using some of my vacation time and taking a day off a week so that I can put that day off towards my new thing? Whatever that looks like for you. But so protecting your energy too. And when you're doing that time audit, even beyond that, looking at as you start to do these tasks, like you're saying, do I really enjoy this? Even keep a journal or track, like, is this an energy dipper or is this an energy giver, right? Like, is this really draining me or is it fueling me? Right. Because you need a balance of that, right? You can't have everything draining you. Yep. And so it's like, there's only so much time in a day, and we all talk about how tired we are and how busy we are, but we do have some control over the matter, especially when we're making these choices. So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Something we get asked all the time is, I want to build an ABA company without investors. How do I do that?
One place we're telling people to check out is Live Oak Bank.
They really understand the unique needs of ABA businesses and specialize in custom financial solutions that support your practice.
They're America's premier SBA lender and have guided thousands of small businesses through the SBA loan process.
Whether you're looking for business acquisition financing, construction, commercial real estate, working capital, or refinancing,
Live Oak has tailored solutions just for you. Their behavioral health lending team offers financing options nationwide.
So if you're ready to grow your ABA business without giving away your equity, visit liveoak.bank/PIE, P-I-E, to connect with their team.
All right, money. That's a hard one, because like money is not something that a lot of us have just a lot of extra sitting around. We work hard for our money. Things feel like they're getting more and more expensive, and right? But it is super important going into any business with knowing your financial plan. I would say, especially a business like ABA, when we're dealing with insurance, especially right now, things are crazy out there with rates. And one of the big things that we've been giving advice on, we're talking about all these rate cuts and, pauses and things like that on our on the news show on Tuesday or Monday morning or Tuesday on podcast, but it are how you need a cushion, right? Because you may go a few months without seeing payment from an insurance, or rates may dip. And I know you talked about when you are credentialing with companies, part of that process is you're going to learn the rates.
Correct.
As you're coming in network. Yeah. So what's your advice to someone who might say, do I have enough money to start? Or what if I fail financially?
I mean, you can do this on the cheap, right? And do it again. It's very similar to time, right? Is how much extra cash that you have to invest in this is going to dictate how quickly you can build this out. Mm-hmm. And there are certain things that you really like, you really shouldn't go without. And doing that, I'll get to that later. Later very rarely comes. I won't say never, but it very rarely comes.
Like you say to yourself, like, I'll do that later. I'll get to that later.
I'll do my HIPAA risk assessment later. I'll get to my employee handbook later. I'll create my website later. I'll get to my practice management software later, right? Like there are certain things that you really need to have in place. I'll find an accountant later. I'll interview an attorney later, right? Like, and so you get into it, you're 6 months into it, or like in some cases, you're 4 years into it, like we were, and then something comes up, and that thing was on your to-do list forever is like, oh crap, I remember I was supposed to get that like 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then so like building this, you want, if you had to choose, right, between I don't want to get out a loan, I don't want an investor, I don't want to do the Uber of ABA, which I don't recommend any of those to start out, especially if you don't know that this is something that you want to do. So do it slowly, and then just get things in place as you need to get them in place. You don't have to spend a ton of money on a website, but don't put HIPAA like PHI in a contact us form, right? Like, so there are things that you have to do to make sure you're doing things right, and it can be done fairly cost effective, right? So like, again, credentialing, if you're like, I have to outsource this, I'm going to go with the absolute cheapest person available. What happens in a lot of cases, I'm the one that they come and talk to after the thing has failed spectacularly. So like they signed me up as a solo provider instead of a group, right? I haven't heard from them in 9 months, and they forgot to tell me about my CAQH.
Or sign, like having you sign the contract without
I signed the contract. I don't have rates. So these things, right, are really important to get done correctly, right? So, when I'm consulting with someone, doing the free consult with someone, just if you don't have $500, no offense to anyone listening to this, probably shouldn't be starting a business. So get the course, it's $500 for the year, right? You'll have 60 hours of self-paced content. And now we know what we need to do, right? If you're starting a company and you have any, I don't know what I don't know, statements that you've said recently, then this is the course for you, right? It's going to really guide you through it. And if you're like, no, I don't have $500 to do that, then listen to, 80% of our podcasts, and you'll probably be in a pretty good position anyway, right? And so that would be where you would start. so that you can avoid some of these costly mistakes, right? And your time right now is worth less, no offense, than it will be later, than it will be in 2 or 3 years when you're the director of clinical services for a company that has 5 clinics. Your time is worth way more money then than it is now. And so invest, use your time wisely right now to build these things out. So later, when your time is worth way, way, way more, everything's in place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. So you don't have to have a huge nest egg or a ton of money necessarily to get started.
No, I mean, so you could get by.
I guess it depends on what do you mean by get started, right? To get started slow. Like you're not going to be able to if you're wanting a clinic and you're wanting staff right off the bat and stuff like that, of course you're going to need even just the credentialing point, right? Because that whole do I hire first? Do I,
Yeah. So for a few $1,000s, you would be in a great position to start taking cases on, right? And then it depends on how slowly you want to start this thing, right? Mm-hmm. And how little money that you have and how totally opposed to getting a loan you are, right? And how much your salary is required in your household. So if you're the major breadwinner in your home and you need to compensate, for a lost job pretty quickly, you may need to move a little bit faster. And a loan may be an acceptable cost to take, right? And
we're not saying I don't feel like we're not saying don't ever take a loan, but you do have to you have to analyze what's best for you and your family, right? And maybe you don't have something, whatever with your current job ended, right? And you're like, you know what? Rather than looking for another job, maybe this is the opportunity for me to start something new. I've always wanted to try it out. And so maybe you are in a different position where, it would be nice to have some funds, to help along the way to help you to be able to start. So so many people come from, everyone has their own story, right? Mm-hmm. And people come from different walks of life and enter into, being curious about being an ABA business leader in many different ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I would start with the ABA Business Leaders platform and get the Business Masterclass course. That would be the starting point. See how much work you have to put in to become a business owner and get the right pieces in place before you start taking clients. Again, you can do this fairly with not too much money, but it depends on how quickly you need to grow and how much profit you need to maintain your current lifestyle.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the next thing, confidence and competence. So I'm a good clinician, right? But I don't know business. That's where I was for sure. I don't know that I even recognized that was a thing though. Right. I didn't realize how much business smarts needed to be part of it. Right. I was a little naive. I was a lot naive. Luckily I had this guy over here in my corner, but yeah, so I'm a good clinician, but I don't know business. Or what if I'm just not cut out for this, right? So there's always things even if you say, yeah, I'm going to do this and you get started, then there's the whole imposter syndrome that can happen. Yeah, I know that, it can be a scary thing, right? Even outside of, do I have time for this? And do I have the finances, the stability for this? Can I do this?
I mean, can you do it? Yeah, absolutely you can do it. you just need the time and the energy to do it. And then get the right people in your corner, right? Like, I would highly recommend, it doesn't matter if you go with us, have a mentor, have someone that's been through this, not someone that says, I help ABA businesses, but I've never had an ABA business and I have no effing clue what that's like, because that's different. So having a mentor that has been in this business is important. And there are a lot of amazing ABA business mentors out there. So get one, talk to one, start a relationship. And then get an accountant. Dude, you need an accountant that's going to be able to, again, if you have no clue about business, and I don't really have a great knowledge of business myself. So like having an accountant that says, no, Stephen, that's dumb, right? Like, and maybe they don't say dumb, but that's not the right thing. We need to do this. We need a plan. We need tax planning. We need to make sure you get your payroll in on time. No, you can't skip that, right? Like, and just making sure that they can look at like long-term strategies so that you don't get caught in something, right? And make a big old mess, because it can happen very quickly. And before you know it, you're just in a really difficult position.
Yeah, I mean, payroll alone,
Yes.
we learned the hard way that the frequency that you have to pay your payroll taxes changes as you start to make more money. And then when you don't know that until you've made that mistake, and then you have to pay the penalty, and then and then right? Yeah. But it's really great when you get to learn all of those pieces without the mistakes first.
And like, this is my concern, right? Like, and I hear this occasionally, is like, well, I don't have the money for that. I promise you don't have the money to not have it, right? Like, you just don't. Like, there's so many minds that you're gonna just blow up in your face, right? And so having these people in place before you make any crazy mistakes is just gonna help you. So having that mentor that's been through this is great, right? Maybe you don't do it the way that they do it. Maybe something we often say, I don't remember where I heard this, but take what feels right and throw out the rest, right? So maybe you have a unique way that's very special and different from anybody else. Still, like, I still recommend having that person to talk to that has been there and done that is really important. And maybe you don't listen to them, but at least you have the knowledge that they have and they have provided for you. And having an attorney, again, Legal Shield is what we're recommending at this point. They're not an affiliate, but like $70, I think, a month, and you're going to have an attorney that you can talk to in your state and really guide you and say, hey, what about this? What do I do here? And again, like, something else that we didn't know about at the start is that we had county taxes that we had to pay, and our accountant didn't mention that, and so we had a big old fee to pay, and penalties and interests on top of that once we started making a certain amount of revenue over the limit that would require us to pay those taxes. So, like, again, you don't have the money to not do this, right? Like, there's enough issues. It's the same, like, you can't not have professional liability insurance, right? Like, you just can't. The same, like, some states allow you to not get workers' comp, but like, as soon as you get one employee, you cannot afford to not have workers' compensation, right? I can almost guarantee that you're going to pay more out not having workers' comp than you would pay having workers' comp, right? There are just some things that it's not worth saving $50 to spend 5,000, right?
Yeah.
And so these are the issues that you want to avoid. And so, if your entire focus is on, and trust me, this is someone that is super cheap saying it, like, I don't like to spend money unless I absolutely have to. But if your whole focus is on avoiding spending money, then you're going to pay for that. I can promise you will pay for that. And what you end up paying out is going to be way more expensive than what you paid in. And a prime example of that is practice management software. There are some very reasonably priced practice management softwares out there that don't require you sign your life away, that don't, that don't trap you into their systems. And what that's going to save you by paying $30 a month is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a recoupment on it, because you were taking things in paper and pencil because you wanted to save $30 a month, right? And this is me. I did this. I promise. Like, this is a lesson that we learned, and like, so
well, we can tell that you're super passionate about it because you brought it back to money. You brought it back to finances.
Sorry, but yeah. So like this, it's really important to have those things in place.
Yes, it is. So another part of confidence and confidence, and, you mentioned about mentorship, but also Jennifer, one of our panelists, ABA business owner panelists, she often says it's really lonely at the top. Yeah. And she's not wrong, right? We've had quite a few conversations with the panelists, with the ABA owners, of one of the reasons why we're able to get a group of BCBA business owners together to do these panels is because they feel like it's like therapy, right? To be able to meet with other business owners and to collaborate and to chit chat, and just to not feel like, oh, you have that problem too, or, oh, this is how, this is how I found a workaround for this, or this is what really works for us, or, just talking amongst other ABA business leaders is a really great way to build some confidence too, right? Because anytime we're like normalizing, oh, it's not just me. Like, this is a thing that happens. Yes. And, oh, my buddy, this is how they fixed it, or what they did, to learn how to do this better, or, to make it easier, or whatever, right? Or even if it's just a hard thing, that there's nothing you can do about it and it just sucks and it's hard, then having other ABA business owners who get that. And, that's one of the reasons why we say so much to, reach out to other ABA business owners in your community, in your town, in your state. And yes, to pull together for the big picture, to help with some of the legislation and the insurance pieces and all of that. But if nothing else, just to have support, right? Have community. Yep. And I think that's one of the things that, our Ask Me Anything events that we do have also for if you purchase the Business Leaders platform. People like to just show up and hear other people's questions, even if they don't have a question, right? Because it just helps them to feel supported and not alone. Yeah.
I mean, like most of the BCBAs that we help start up, they have the clinical side down, right? They don't really feel they need much support on that side. Where they need the support is on the business side. So that's where you get those people in place so that you can avoid those costly mistakes. But I will say, like, for any BCBAs out there thinking about starting, and if you find yourself going to your director or the business owner often for employee issues, right? Like, that's not my job. I don't take it. Or if you're going to them because you have a parent that you find very difficult, and so you're handing it off to them, or you're not dealing with those day-to-day problems that you will now be in charge of, right? So maybe take this opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to learn these skills with my current company and take some more responsibility, so I get a feel for that. Because there's not going to be anybody there to help you anymore, right? They're going to say, you're the owner, right? Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing? Right? So, like, having those skills, right, and not learning them on the fly, probably helpful. So, if you find yourself, if you find yourself, needing to go to get additional support for certain areas on the clinical side, maybe you should, try and work on those before
Mm-hmm.
You go completely independent.
I feel like that's really good advice. Mm-hmm. Just something we don't think about sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next one, ethics and quality of care.
Okay.
So a common fear is, how do I make sure that I don't become what I respect? Make sure I don't become what I respect in the field. How do I make sure I don't become what I don't respect in the field? There we go. Forgot the one important word. So like, I don't want to be like that company that I left because it was terrible.
And we hear that often.
Yeah. I don't want to be one of those bad ABA companies, like really, honestly.
Yeah.
So, it's really also about knowing the business piece, knowing the science, knowing how, having those skills, those interpersonal skills, having
Some of the
just
soft skills,
the ABA knowledge, but also like leadership skills, right? And so we often talk about values driven leadership and being able to create systems that protect clinical quality. They create a, positive working environment, a safe working environment, and all of those pieces as well. So part of planning your company and looking at, like, do I want to start, where am I at in my leadership skills? Most BCBAs are already in a leadership position in the sense that they are a supervisor for, techs, or maybe even, other, depending on how many years they have as a behavior analyst, maybe they're a supervisor for other behavior analysts.
Sure.
But what part of that job do you feel confident in? What part of that piece of it do you feel, like you were saying, like dealing with parents or dealing with other staff? How do you feel with your conflict resolution? Are you in touch with like your values? And a lot of people say, I don't want to create what I left. Okay, so what do you want to create? Okay,
right.
what are the opposites of what you don't want to see too?
I would ask, like I was talking to someone a few weeks ago. I think I've already brought this up on the podcast, but I'm leaving this company because this company's been around for 10 years, and on year 8, they finally got an employee handbook, right? So there are these foundational pieces that maybe your current company doesn't have. Do they have access to an attorney, right? Do they have a supportive accountant? Are they planning for growth and doing financial forecasting? Have they accepted every contract, and even these low rates they're still accepting, right? Are they working 80 hours a week? And they have no policies and procedures and no way to scale appropriately because it's all in their head, right?
Right.
And
so what would you put in place?
What would you, and this is what we're saying, right? So there just are these foundational things that you need to have in place. And so I'm just going back to money, but like there are certain things that have to be in place to scale successfully. Right. And if you don't have those things in place, there are so many incentives to do the wrong thing in this space. And if you don't have those foundations and you haven't tied it back to your values, right, then the way that this system works right now is that typically you're paying lower wages for less experienced staff. And higher turnover means you're paying less because you don't have to give raises. And what this works out to be is you have a higher profitability because your wages are lower, right? And if you're only focused on profit and billable hours because you have not put these foundational things in place, then this is where it goes, right? Like, so you really have to be intentional to maintain quality of service and ethic.
Right. And as far as leadership and leading a team, right, it's a little more than just an 8-hour supervision course. I would suggest as part of, if you're like, well, I don't know. I don't know what my leadership abilities are.
Right.
And you reflect back and maybe you think, oh, maybe I do put that off to my current boss, or maybe I do shrug that down the line because it's not something that I have to do. So I choose not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that you can't learn. And so
Correct.
just explore and get creative. There are so many leadership books out there. And we had, Polly
Gloves.
Gloves, but like, doesn't he have, is that his real last name?
No, that's his
his
nickname.
right? I was trying to remember his last name.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I know it.
If you search Polly Gloves, and he was on our podcast too, but he's got some amazing leadership books, and
100%.
he really ties it back to the science, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have like Brene Brown, and we have there's so many.
She wasn't on our podcast.
But Brene Brown, if you want to come on, I will be more than happy. So we have Polly, we have Gavoni. Yeah, Polly Gavoni.
Yeah.
Dr. Polly Gavoni Gloves.
And I think that he just
he has a new book.
Yeah, he just got a new book.
Yeah. But so he has some amazing
it's the feedback effect.
The feedback effect.
Yeah.
But he has he talks about the four hats or something. I can't remember. Sorry. But it's definitely worth looking into. Great information. And really, a nice place to start looking, when you're looking at, leadership within the ABA too. Like I said, he really relates everything back to the science. So that's super important. And it's something that as we built our team, and years later, we started to build our own leadership team within our team. I had like required readings, and at the time podcasts were just starting to be a thing, or I would have probably had them listen to more podcasts too, but like learning about how can we be better leaders within our company, because there's a lot we can do than just tell people what to do. Right.
Yes.
And so in fact, there's a lot going back to ethics and leadership, it is really a lot about, if we're seeing a lot of mistakes out there within our staff, we have to look back to our own systems. There's a really great author that I know who is writing an amazing book right now, and he talks a lot about that in one of his chapters.
You're talking about me. I did. I was like, who are you talking about? I like clueless. I was clueless.
It's great. But yeah, so I can't wait. I can't wait till we get to launch that book, because you guys are gonna
author. Who author?
Like, I know a very important author. So it's super important to be able to know how to lead a team. And I want to take this minute to say we don't have to be experts at every single one of these categories that we're talking about. Sometimes the first step of just knowing you're not an expert in that area and getting curious and asking questions and getting all the information you can to grow and learn. Like if you wait to start a business when you're an expert starting a business, you're never going to start a business.
And like I've talked to some BCBAs that are in the middle of nowhere, right? And they don't have another company that they can learn leadership skills from, right? It's them for hours.
Yeah.
So, so again, I just go back to getting those pieces in place, right? Put like ABA ethics hotline like on make that a very useful thing, right? Hey, I'm in this situation. What do I do? Right? Get to know that email address, and having a mentor and doing some self-awareness, right? Where am I lacking? Where can I improve? I think that everybody should do that. Find your blind spots. We all have them. And, that's going to make you a better leader, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to make you a better leader.
Well, we just have a couple more, I'm going to say quickish pieces to touch on before we end today. But practical unknowns can be also a big fear, starting, right? So where do I even start? How do I hire? What systems do I need? And we'll just I feel like the entire time we've been talking today, we've been pointing back to these things of like, how can we help? Like, we are here for you. Reach out to us. We love talking to new business owners or prospective new business owners. You can schedule a free consult with us. You can join ABA Business Leaders. There's all the things. And that does answer a lot of those questions. But I am going to say, if you are in the space where you're thinking about starting a company and you are asking those questions, then I'm going to say, like, you're on the right track and you're really, things are looking good for you. You're probably meant for this, right? The last thing that we'll talk on today is fear of failure. I can't even say the word failure. What if it doesn't work? What if I let people down?
That's I think that probably every 35 minutes. It's not even a joke. I mean, it sucks, right? But here's the good news is that you are in such high demand. You will have a new, better paying job in about 45 seconds when you're done, right? Like you will. And what if you don't? What if you make this a successful company, right? What if that happens? Which is more than likely. If you're, again, you have to put in those foundational pieces first, right? I can 100% promise you, if you have nothing down on how people are supposed to react or how people are supposed to respond or how people are supposed to do their jobs, it's never going to be done the same way twice. I don't think that that's very good. I don't think you would want two RBTs going to somebody's home and collecting data differently every single session, right? That would not really give you anything to make progress. So business is no different, right? If you have a biller and they bill differently every single time, the results are probably not going to be as great as you would like. This is no different, right? So
absolutely. So, we're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, 100%. I made a mistake on Facebook and I'm learning, I'm suffering the consequences.
Oh, a spelling mistake. Oh my goodness. But, and we talk about how can we support you, and we talk about all of these important pieces to make you need to have this, and you need to have this, and you need to have this. And if you have this, and if you have this thing that in place correctly, then you're going to lessen the chances of you making these costly mistakes. And that's a lot, right? But so I can understand why you're like, whoa, you guys are talking about all these mistakes that are going to happen. We're just trying to minimize those mistakes, but let's all be real here. We're all going to continue to make mistakes, even if we know the exact information of exactly what we're supposed to do and we know how to do it. Life happens and mistakes happen, and we just say, okay, well, how do we learn from this? And what policy and procedure do I need to put in place for next time? Or maybe, is this even a thing that I need to be keeping up? Not necessarily the business, but maybe one part of it. Maybe there's something that's just too much, too extra that you're not ready for yet. Right? Yes. As we start to get fancy. Sometimes we get a little too fancy in our creation, because I don't know, I don't know what it's like, but, when you're an idea person, and you're creative, you
don't know what that's like,
and you have lots of ideas. I'm being sarcastic because both of us are very much like that, and we have a child like that. But we can get a little bit. We sometimes have to bring it back in, right? Too, right? Maybe that we start making a lot of mistakes, and we realize, oh, okay, am I doing too much? Do I need to bring it back to the basics for a little bit?
You're not going to save the world, right? Maybe you save 25.
Maybe
right?
25.
Yeah, maybe 25.
But not the world. For that, fear of failure. Another thing that you can do, we do within our family, because we're all worst case. I think it comes with that creative brain, right? Kind of like worst case scenario kind of people. So we play this game with each other. Well, then what? Well, then what? Yeah. Well, then what? Right? And it's kind of fun too, because sometimes you can talk yourself into okay, I need to take this a little lighter. Maybe this is a mistake that I might make. Okay, so let me make sure I put something in place beforehand, right?
Yes.
So there we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's failure mode analysis. I know there's an E in there, failure effective mode, and something like that. I can't remember. I'm no longer an engineer. But I mean, that's what I spent my days doing, right? Like, what is the worst, awful, terrible thing that could happen in my head, right? Like, I got paid to do that. Imagine horrible things. And then figure out how to prevent those horrible things from happening. So you do that. I think that that's a good exercise to do. But then you got to let it go, right? Like there's a point where you're never going to fix everything, and there are going to be some crazy things that happen. It's like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, you can have, and I think that's part of being a behavior analyst and being in the ABA field too, right? Is because we're looking at all the variables. We're looking at like why behaviors are happening, like the environment, all the pieces, right? Mm-hmm. And so like what's happening before, what's happening after. And so, that can, if you overthink all of those pieces, it can bog you down. And you can get like paralyzed. You don't know what next direction to go into. But so what do we do, right? We break it down into small, simple steps, right? Yeah. And so, that all works together. Yeah. That's why we work pretty good here together.
And then also, like, you do need, like, as ridiculous as it sounds, you need a policy on when you don't have a policy, right? Like, what am I going to do? Okay, if it's this area, okay, then I contact this person. If it's this area, I contact that person, right? So, and that's kind of your, there may still be consequences, but it's going to be your get out of jail free card, where you say, okay, this is what I do when I don't know what to do. And you should have some idea on who I need to talk to, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe I need to talk to 15 people, but I know the general area. And then you can, again, once you know who to go to and they can support you because you put these mentors in place, then you can figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So,
yes. Yeah. So this was the first official episode of our Back to Basics series. So as we move through the series, you're going to start seeing like more of a format of us talking to beginners, right? Just people just starting out or haven't quite started yet. And then the people who have been in practice for years, 1 to 5, 10, 20 years, and how you can take this information and relate it to what you're doing now and audit your systems and reevaluate things, because it's all about continual growth. We never get our perfect business and then stop growing. We're always growing and changing and adding new things, all the way to looking at supporting people who are thinking about closing their doors or selling or moving on from the field, however they're wanting to do that, and what that looks like for them. So, but today with the topic of, do we even want to start, right? And do I know if I'm ready to start? We didn't really touch on that, but I do want to just put a little plug here for those of you who are who have been in business for years, or who are at the end of their business life. What did you wish that you knew when you were a beginner, or what you wish you knew before you started? Yep. What mistakes did you make? What lessons have you learned? And if you are watching this on YouTube, comment.
Or if you feel comfortable, call 737-330-1448 and press 1 and just say, this is what I want everybody who's starting out to know. Yes. And we will play it on the next podcast and support your fellow ABA, BCBA business owners doing that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you can participate in ABA Business Leaders Facebook or on LinkedIn and I don't know. We're in all the places.
Maybe I'll give you a free copy of my book.
But having those like conversations and so I think that would be really cool. So yes, definitely call the hotline. If we get enough people participate, we'll do a follow-up for what did you wish you knew when you started? Because I think that is an amazing part of a Back to Basics series. But if you just want to kind of get some conversation going on socials, then that's really cool too. Yeah. All right. So your little homework, your mission, for the week maybe is, if you are, and this, I'm really just talking for those people who are in the shoe, like in the chair of the person who is saying, do I want to start? Am I ready? Is this for me? And you've listened to this podcast and you have all these ideas swirling around your head and you're like, I don't know if I like feel better or feel worse, right? Take some time, sit down with a pen and paper and journal out. And I'm just going to give a few quick little journal prompts here that you can just sit and reflect on. And we'll end on that note today. But why do I want to start? What does a successful ABA company look like for me? And include like how that feels for you too. I know on our field, we don't talk often about how things feel, but I think that's an important to add. Mm-hmm. What does success look like for me? Am I willing to learn the business side, not just the clinical side? And also looking at that leadership piece as well. What support systems do I have in place? How do I handle uncertainty and setbacks? Some of this is just looking at your own personal like abilities and life and, right? Because it's going to be your own person who's going into this, right? And so 100%. Really reflecting, looking at where your blind spots are, like you said earlier today. Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, really understanding what you value is important. And maybe if you struggle with that, like most humans do, what do you absolutely despise, right? What are the things that you never want to see again in your ABA company?
And find the opposite.
Yes. And then
find the opposite of that and then strive for that. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much. This was exciting. I really am so excited to get back in the groove of things. And I can't wait to see you next time.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Hopefully it was helpful. If you would like to gain access to this entire video and actually our entire library of videos, please join our ABA Business Leaders membership. You can find that at www.3pisquare.com.